Yeah, hi everyone. Good day. My name is Dr. One, and I'm here to talk about pots, or call it utensils that we use in our houses. I've decided to entitle this Your Pot and Your Kidney. I'm very specific here with regards to that title because there are so many things going on in our houses that someone need to raise that red flag. So please listen to this video keenly. Share the video with your brother, your sister, even your enemies. It's good that everyone around you should be conscious of what they are doing. Some keep doing them inadvertently. So I've decided to dedicate this video for everyone. Before we go into detail, let me just give a panoramic explanation, or call it a summary of what I'm going to say, and then I will go in detail. So if you look at the image, you can see that pot. The pot has multiple colors if you look at it keenly. You can see that the inner part of the pot has another color as compared to the outer part of the pot. And even within the inner part of the pot, the part that has liquid also has another color. So in total, there are 3 colors here. That is going to be something of concern, because when you bought this pot, what they call Makokot or the iron pot, that wasn't the color if you watch keenly. The color inside was the same as the one outside, the back part of the pot. But as years goes by, that color keeps changing, which in chemistry we call it oxidation. So there should be something going wrong there. And I expected each and every one using this pot in cooking to ask him or herself that question. Remember, pots also do have expiry date. So there's no pot that will remain forever. So if you keep using this pot, then you have yourself to blame. That's the summary of the whole thing. So now let's go into greater detail what is going on here. I might use some technical terms, but I will try to break them down to your understanding as time goes by. So here is my take. There is what we call amalgamation. Amalgamation is when you put metals together, say lead, mercury, aluminum, zinc, copper, they form an amalgam. So you do what we call amalgamation. So technically, that's what is going on. So these guys, we call them blacksmith. The blacksmith, they go around the place, all the villages, and gather all sort of metal. It could be iron, it could be aluminum, it could be copper, it could be gold. They gather everything. Now, they take it to their center where they do their heating and melting. When they melt this thing now, it transforms into an amalgam. Now, that amalgam contains so many metals put together. Now, they use this amalgam now to formulate the pot that you are seeing, which they call it Makokot, and then sell them to you. At that point of sales, when you go there, you realize that the pots are shiny. But when you take them home as time goes by, you realize that the color of the pot are no more the same. That is, the inner part of the pot is not the same as the outer part of the pot. That's already a big red flag, meaning that there's something going wrong here. We call it in chemistry oxidoreduction and also leaching. I will explain to you further what does that mean. So, if they gather as a couple in making that pot, and as you are cooking, that copper also undergoes oxidation and reduction. Same thing for iron. They do undergo oxidoreduction. Same thing for lead. So you see, all these things, they end up in the food that you prepare in that pot, especially when the food is oily. For oily food now, it becomes leaked or leached. So imagine you eating food loaded with heavy metals. So I just listed some of those heavy metals that you will find them in your food. So those heavy metals, especially those that undergo oxidation, like aluminum, lead, and all sorts of things, they create big issue at the level of your kidney. You remember, the kidney has different parts. So to be more precise, we call it the Bowman capsule. That Bowman capsule has nephrins and peroxides. So those nephrins and peroxides, they are just like merge network. So that merge network now finds it really challenging to get rid of those heavy metals. And another bad news is those heavy metals undergo another process we call biomagnification, which makes things even worse. And also undergo another process called bioaccumulation. So there are so many reactions going on here that you can only see them using a microscope. You might see some of the basic ones with your naked eye, like the colors changing. You see, the inner part of the pot, say for instance, you prepare your food in there that is has a different alkaline. So, say for instance, tomato sauce. If you make tomato sauce in that pot, I bet you the next day when you consume that tomato sauce, you will see that the area that the tomato sauce occupied in that pot will not be the same as the one that it never occupied. That's the color will be different. There's going to be a ring at the inner part of the pot, and then going down that ring, the color will be the same, but the part above that color will be different. Just to tell you that something has gone wrong, and also how your tomato sauce is unsafe. So, meaning that oxidation and reduction have taken place. And when they take place now, those heavy metals end up in the content of your food. So you can see my thumbnail, the pot, what is inside that pot. So that food now is nothing but toxic. So it is leachate that you are eating. Now, when you eat this leachate now, it does so many things in your body. The first one is the pancreas. It goes to irritate the pancreas. And when the pancreas is being irritated, insulin secretion becomes an issue. And therefore, you are prone in developing diabetes type 2. So you see how silly it can be. Going to buy a cheap pot, using it to cook inappropriately, goes now to affect your whole body. So the pancreas now will start suffering, and obviously even your heart at some point also will create you trouble down the road. And the story doesn't end there. There's another phase now which we call bioaccumulation and biomagnification, meaning that those substances, they do accumulate as years goes by, and then they undergo some changes also at the same time. Like so, they create more trouble within the Bowman capsule, the nephrins and the podocytes. So filtration now becomes a whole big issue. The diaphragm of the kidney cannot eliminate those heavy metals, and that's why you end up now having complications down the road. Say your blood itself might have a high value of aluminum, high value of heavy metal, and you can name the rest. So I am here today to explain these things with all love and concern. I have written lots of documents on this issue of using amalgamated port, or call it in French, le macocot, and people still don't believe it. It's practically simple. We can conduct experiments from home. You simply get that port and also get a decent port, which might cost you a good sum of money, but again, your organs are safe. Use that port, cook what you want for 6 months, and also use the other one, cook for 6 months, and consume the food, and go and test your blood value. Go and check yourself for aluminum concentration, lead concentration. Believe me, you will be shocked what you're going to see, because the person consuming food prepared in the pot, made up of an amalgam, that is lead, copper, aluminum, and you can name the rest, will definitely have a higher concentration of this mineral, which we call them heavy metal, in their blood. Whereas the person who choose to consume food from a decent pot, which is pricey, will not have that condition. And definitely, what happens? The kidney stays longer. Whereas you choose to eat from amalgama or amalgamated pot, you will be in trouble. You might end up in dialysis. No, you even might. You will end up in dialysis in this case. Yes, I know somebody will tell me, oh, dialysis, they can take it off. Yes, chelation can be done. When the blood becomes chelated, that substance can be removed. But again, the question is, if that chelation is done, are you going to replace that pot, or you are still going to use that same pot again? If you say yes, then you are in what we call a vicious circle. A vicious circle is a situation where you go for dialysis, they clean the system, they send you back home, you go back again on the same causative factors. So that's what I meant by vicious circle. So if you go for dialysis and they clean the system, you have to refrain from doing the things that you were doing prior to dialysis. Take, for instance, protein-laden food. Food high in protein, you have to keep them away. You have to refrain from consuming them. Same thing for those who love consuming oxalated food. Oxalated food are food which are loaded with green leafy stuff. So green leafy stuff are highly loaded with oxalate, and that's why in all my videos I always make sure that I stress on the importance of eating decently. That is, if I say consume green leafy vegetable and they must be crunchy, I always make the statement provided your kidney is safe, because I don't want people to misinterpret me by saying that, oh, Dr. Wan said we should eat green leafy vegetable and they must be crunchy. No. Green leafy vegetable are meant for those who have kidney checked. That is, before you engage yourself in consuming crunchy green leafy vegetable, you need to make sure that you go for a kidney check at least once a year. Like so, you have an understanding of your kidney function. So that's my message here. So I don't just say things and I leave it halfway. I always make sure that I do explain to the end of it. So coming back to the part that I was saying, I will reiterate that those who already have this pot, I would say do not for any reason use them in preparing food. Worst case scenario, you can prepare your food using leaf inside. Let me explain much more better. For those of you who knows what they call koki, koki is a typical meal in Africa that we all love, and that koki is being tied in leaves. So when you tie them in leaves and then put it in hot water in those pots, then that is ideal, because leachate, or call them the heavy metal, will not get into the koki itself. So that's the only condition that you can use that pot for. It is not as if you can use it to boil meat, as you can see on the thumbnail. That one is absolutely wrong. I repeat again, you do not have to use that pot to cook, say, meat and everything like what you are seeing there, to make stew. It is absolutely wrong doing that. It's a wrong practice. You can use the pot to make only koki, and the reason being that the koki you put in that pot already has something to protect it. The leaf is there, so there's just no way the heavy metal can get inside the koki itself. So your koki is safe. Whereas all the other things like your rice and whatever thing you want to prepare, that pot is not ideal. So listen to this video as many times as possible. If you still doubt it, it's simple. Look at that pot you have at home. Go to the shop and look for the brand new one. You realize that the brand new one has a different color as compared to what you have at home. Another important thing here is when you wash it. When you wash those pots with sponge, believe me, you see some stuff coming out. We call it in chemistry filings. So when you wash that pot with sponge, and what they call it, the iron sponge, you realize that filings are coming out there. You see the color of the water itself looks kind of black. Just to tell you that you are in danger. You've been consuming this garbage for years, and you don't even bother to ask yourself questions. So that's my message here. So don't get me wrong. Don't say I've asked you to throw your pot. You can throw it and get the right one. But if you still want to use it, therefore, reserve the pot only in preparing non-oily food like koki. So koki in that pot is okay because it has a layer there that prevents anything from getting inside. Like so, you are safe. Do not put yourself in trouble by using your hard-earned money to go and buy a cheap pot. No, do not go down the route. I would rather advise you to let go your mesh and all the other things like your beauty case. Put that money in buying a decent pot. Your life is important. your kidney is a very important organ. Kidney transplant is not as easy as you think. Even if you have a kidney transplant, it's also expensive because not everyone can get kidney transplant. Once you are over 50 years of age, there's no way you can get kidney transplant. That's one factor. Second factor is the economic implication. Kidney transplant also is expensive. So why do you really want to create this situation for your own self when there are alternatives? Buying a decent pot will not cost you over 50,000 francs. But a kidney transplant, we're talking of hundreds of thousands. We're talking about thousands of dollars here. Then I would say you spend $100 to buy a pot than spending thousands of dollars for kidney transplant. So that's the message. Listen to it. Call me and I will be more than happy to explain further. I have all evidence to support my statement. We have studied chemistry, so I know what I'm saying. If you still doubt it, my books are still there. I will be happy to share them with you. So that's another thing. Then another thing to end this video is decent eating, responsible eating. When I say decent and responsible eating, I mean by saying that you eat just what your body needs. Because the human body is so complicated, especially when we turn 65 years of age. It is just like a car. Each car has a number of seaters, including the driver. So if a car is meant to carry 10 people, it's meant only to carry 10 people. There's nothing like putting one extra person. That car is at risk. So that's what happens also with you guys down there. So try to do things the right way. When you go for a party, please just get a reasonable amount of food, because the cells, which it is the smallest unit in human being, has the quantity of molecules that it can take. There's no point forcing so much food in your tummy because it's a party. No way. Just like the drinking habit. I know Christmas is around the corner. There's going to be heavy drinking. But again, ask yourself, what is going to happen? Will your organs be happy? With your lungs, your heart be happy? That's what you need to ask yourself before drinking. Why not drink the same quantity all around the year than deciding to sit one evening and gulp down more than 10 bottles of beer? It doesn't help you in any way. It either put you at risk. If you choose to take one glass every evening, or say even one glass 3 times a day, then that will be fine. Say a glass of wine or beer or whatever thing at your breakfast if you wish, which is strange, but again, that could be another way to consume your beer. Open the one bottle of beer, take a glass at your breakfast, take another glass at lunch, and the last glass at dinner. I think nothing will happen to you. Rather than you sitting down and gulp down 10 bottles of beer, that's no healthy life. Now, coming back to cold water, someone asked me if they can drink cold water while eating. The answer is no, and I will tell you why. You do not have to drink cold water while eating. I would rather prefer you drink hot water or hot tea, because having heat in that liquid, it goes to stimulate your system. It creates a situation what we call vasodilation. And when the system is heated, the food now is easily absorbed. Absorption takes place. So, and also, why not emulsification and also transformation of the chewed food into chimes and kilomicrons. Whereas drinking cold water, no, it instead creates the opposite effect, what we call constrictions of the vessels and arteries. That's what happens. So imagine you sitting down in a beer parlor, eat a decent bushmeat or whichever thing you want to call, say you are kati or a chew or whatever thing you want to call, then you request for a dead cold beer. That's suicidal because that food you are eating goes into what we call standby. Standby as a result of vasoconstriction instead of vasodilation. Because that beer you are drinking is a cold beer and the temperature outside is hot. It's actually hot down there in Africa. So you're not supposed to drink a cold beer while eating. You can drink a cold beer, I will say, 2 hours after eating. That's fine because the food is already gone. It has undergone absorption, it's not in your blood, providing you with energy. So drinking your cold beer now, nothing would happen. Just like drinking your cold water after eating, 2 hours, that's fine. Worst case scenario, 1 hour after you can drink. So that's the whole thing. Otherwise, you end up having constipation, you end up having large tummy because the food is just hanging somewhere there. That's what people have to know. You need to do that as a normal practice and stop this behavior of going to a restaurant and place an order for a decent meal, especially oily food, and then request for dead cold beer. No, it doesn't work that way. Now to talk about beverages, say like pamplemousse, and you can name the rest. I will say, hold on. Eat your decent meal, take a break for 1 hour, then you can now drink whatever thing you want to drink. At that time, everything is gone. You yourself can see it. When you take those cold beer, the first thing it is burping. You burp or you puke because there's something going wrong there. There's kind of stagnation building up. That's why you burp. Otherwise, you won't burp if you drink something decent. Then the cold beer is already having some gas in there, so you kind of gaseous reaction taking place, just like your pamplemousse or the sweet juice or beverages also, they all have the sugar content. So fermentation and all stuff things based up there. So it gives you that chances of you burping. So that's my advice to you people. Listen to this video, share it with your loved one, ask questions, and I'll be more than happy to answer you. I'm always available to assist and also sort out your problem. I find solution to problem. I don't create problem. Once more, thank you so much for listening to my video clip. My name is Dr. One. Have a wonderful evening and God bless you. Remember, there is only one you. So keep it at that. Thank you. Ciao.